Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
Welcome to episode 17.
Or episode 39 if you're counting.
Oh, you're counting as always.
That's my job.
What's going on?
I'm done with school!
Woo!
Yes!
Me too. I'm hoping I passed. I really don't know.
I'm fairly certain I've got all B's.
I'm sure you're fine. I'm absolutely certain you're fine. Before we get too far along, just want to remind you guys that we here at Beyond the Black Rims are being brought to you by the Southwest Animation and Gaming Expo, happening January 30th through February 1st here in San Antonio. If you go
2015.
In 2015. If you go to swagexpo.com, you can still pre-register for just $25 for the next few days until December 17th.
And as far as I know, around IckyCon, which is December 27th, we should be getting ready to make some announcements about those guests we've been teasing.
Yeah, finally we'll be able to...
About that time.
Finally we'll be able to unzip our lips about that. Finally.
Finally.
I'm very, very happy about that. Other than that, is anything else going on other than school being over? I mean, that's cool.
I, unfortunately, because of finals and work, I have yet to get into a theater and watch Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug.
I always make that. I've made that mistake ever since I was a kid.
Smaug.
I always called him Smog.
I think that's a fair sort of guess, but
yeah.
Doesn't make it right.
No,
but it's a fair
I
guess.
know I'm not right. It's just force of habit by this point. I know
it's like the same fair assumption that Evangelion might have perhaps been Evangelion, like Evangelion.
Evangelion is how I pronounced it until I saw the dub.
Because that's English.
Yeah.
That's native English for North America.
Yes.
Okay, so... That having been said, let's go ahead and let you guys know what we're going to be talking about a little later on, here in a few more minutes, really. Our first story is going to be in regards to YouTube, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, as this whole YouTube holocaust has gone down.
The YouTube apocalypse.
YouTube getting tight on copyrighted material and just flagging things left and right.
And then our second story is going to be a little bit, just a little slightly different from what we normally cover, about a follow-up movie tying together a bunch of Disney properties, basically following
I thought it was
their...
be a series.
No, it's a movie.
Oh, well.
A live-action movie project tying together all of these Disney animated properties, and basically the kids of the villains of Disney movies in school together.
I don't like it.
And then together, our third story will be covering... I've been waiting for this to show up. The Godzilla trailer has finally come to us.
I need a squeaky gate sound effect at my beck and call at any given moment. I am going to see if there's an app just for a Godzilla
I guarantee
gate squeal.
you there's an app for Godzilla gate squeal. I'm going to be
looking it up during...
the follow-up.
Yes, during our podcast. I'm going to be looking it up. I'm sure it exists.
Hopefully.
Speaking of the follow-up, let's go ahead and talk about that. What has been happening since last week?
Well, in regards to covering the Amazing Spider-Man 2 trailer, another international trailer was released just today, and the footage shown here is quite a bit different from the footage from the American trailer. There's a lot more shown. You're shown more of Aunt May and Peter, him trying to hide his identity. More or less, and we'll probably go into this a little bit more with Godzilla and their alternate trailer, the flow is a little bit better. It tells a better story. Instead of everything being all dark and brooding, this seems a little bit more in keeping with the tone of who Spider-Man is.
Mm-hmm. I think it gives a more honest... Oh, I didn't intend for that to just start up on its own. I'm sorry, but that's...
Well, you found the Godzilla theme. Good job.
Kind of. I'm sorry. Well, as I was trying to say, this is a more honest product with this international trailer.
Yes, I agree.
Because I think that American trailers suffer from this very dark sort of...
Take too long to get to the point,
One, they take too long to get to the point. Two, they all want to be very dark and serious. Like, that's what's selling now or something, I guess. But I
want to say we're starting to move past that in certain respects.
I would hope so.
in addition to that, news just came out yesterday about Sony's plan for 2 spin-off movies, or spin-off properties, I should say, to expand on the universe that has been created with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, specifically citing one screenplay is being developed for Venom, and the others being developed for the Sinister Six themselves, confirming, worldwide that the Sinister Six are on their way.
I'm sure you're excited about that.
I am very excited for the Sinister Six, not so much about Venom.
Why not Venom?
Well, with Venom, it's a little harder to deal with because it depends on which Venom they're dealing with. Because
is
the
this
Venom
not going to be Eddie Brock?
Well, see, the idea in everyone's mind, when you think about Venom, most people in the public cultural ether, they know of Eddie Brock as Venom, whether it be through the animated series, the different iterations therein, or Spider-Man 3. They went with Eddie Brock. They went with the known Venom. He is not the only Venom.
No, of course he's not.
There's also Matt Gargan, who people would know as the Scorpion, one of Spider-Man's other villains, getting a hold of the Venom symbiote. And then later on, more recently in the comics, you have Flash Thompson, Spider-Man's former classmate, who became a war hero, who became an amputee, who became Venom, that they could also go with, who if I'm not mistaken, they were optioning him the last time they were talking about a Venom spin-off, was they were thinking about going with the Flash Thompson Venom.
Uh-huh.
But as far as we know here, given the viral information that's been put out there, they would more than likely go with the Eddie Brock Venom, and I think more people would be happy with that.
But would you be happy with that?
I would be somewhat happy with that, because
why only
really,
somewhat?
Well, it's a matter of personal taste, because Venom has always been a Spider-Man villain to me. I understand that he's got his own stories, that in some cases he's made out to be some sort of an anti-hero.
Uh-huh.
But you can't lie to me. His origins are too strong as a villain, the foil to Spider-Man next to the Green Goblin. When you think of villain counterpart to Spider-Man, you think of one of two people. You think of Green Goblin, or you think of Venom. And then, the lesser ones down the line. Well, not lesser, but, following the tiers, Kraven the Hunter, Sandman, Doc Ock, what have you. But, that's kind of the quickest thing that comes to mind.
Right.
Now, again, I'm pointing back to this whole idea that every company is starting to try and build universes. And this is more evidence right here. You can't just do standalone movies really anymore, because now everybody's finally starting to think about the big picture. Think about, where do we go from here? We can't just think about this one movie. We need to cement the foundation for further movies, because people like continuing stories that make sense, and you can see that this exists in the same world.
Okay, see, you're just the Spider-Man person, and all I can do is sit and listen to you. I'm sorry, I really can't comment back on any of that.
Basically, again, like I said, it all started with Marvel getting their stuff together, starting their universe, so now everyone has to respond.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is not my area of expertise.
I completely understand.
I wish I could have a better conversation with you about this.
Here.
I can't. I
can't.
can't.
Having said that, let's go ahead and get into our first story.
Alright, more along my expertise, because I've been YouTubing for years and years and years. Yes, it is in fact true. YouTube has been implementing this really bogus flagging system. And I'm very, very fortunate that I have not been attacked by this as of yet. Knock on wood that I have nowhere nearby. Yeah, I do. That having been said, tons of my fellow colleagues have in fact been hit by it. There's a very high likelihood with some very, high-profile games that I have reviewed in the past that I very well could get flagged at some point in the near future, and that would be very unfortunate. I believe, as far as I'm understanding, those videos remain online. However, any sort of revenue that you might make off of said videos no longer goes to you.
Basically through ads.
Yeah, through advertising or whatnot. That money no longer goes to you. It goes to whoever the copyright flag threw up there. So it could either be, footage of a video game. This is mostly having to do with video games. Mostly. Not entirely, but it seems to mostly be in the video game universe. So, like, Let's Players are in trouble, reviewers are in trouble. So it'll either flag video footage, sometimes it'll flag video game audio.
Soundtracks.
Like, if it's, like, low quality, something is playing, like, off in the background, there's not even a picture on the screen, and it's only, like, a fragment, then it flags. It's not even technically the publishers of the games that are out there attacking these YouTubers individually. Like I was saying, it is a flagging system that YouTube and Google has implemented. And it just does it automatically. It just blanket flags anybody that it sees.
But like you said just a second ago, certain companies have come forward and said, we had nothing to do with this. We actually want to work with these content providers to try and help them to get these things settled.
But it's amazing how, like, for a brief amount of time, you know, before things got, just a whole bunch of things hit me wave after wave after wave, I was making a living off of producing video content. It is a real job for some people, and for a little while it was for me too, and I'd like to build myself back up to a position where it is for me yet again. But, you know, there's been the argument of, well, making videos shouldn't be a job. Like, really? Like, are you going to tell that to people who make TV shows? Are you going to tell that to people who make movies? Because some people put in about as much work as a television producer to create content for you guys. Like, it's not all just Let's Players. Because, I mean, Let's Players put in, you know, just about the minimum necessary.
Well, to be fair here, as was seen on Kotaku, one of your co-workers on That Guy with the Glasses, Angry Joe, was featured having several of his videos, you know, been flagged.
60 some odd at that given point, yeah.
And, yeah, having seen a lot of his stuff, he does put in a buttload of work into what he does.
He really does. I know for a fact that he does. Him and, our friend, Jared, Pro Jared, he makes his living now entirely off of his video reviews. And he was doing, Pokemon playthroughs, Nuzlocke challenges.
Yes, the Nuzlocke.
And, like, all flagged. Like, all flagged. And he's just kind of like, well, there's no point in me doing that series anymore, and he was like a good hunk of the way through it. Like, no point in actually putting effort into it now, was basically his response to it.
Because basically what it comes down to is, the argument that's being made is, for certain people, not everybody, but for certain people, you're taking food out of people's mouths doing this.
Right, because, again, it's not people who are intentionally doing something really terrible. Joe brought this up in his vlog. Like, these aren't the people who are just sitting there and showing the entirety of a game, or sitting there showing the entirety of a movie, or the entirety of a copyrighted song at full quality. You know, these are not those people. These are people who did proper video camera setup, and lighting, and audio, and editing, and
in most cases,
capture.
self-taught.
Oh, yeah, and these are all people working individually, and they're working really, really hard. Hey, how long did it take me to edit my Fritz the Cat video?
You've been working on that for about, what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah, and now granted, I was also doing college classes and full-time...
Finals.
Yeah, this was finals week, and I had the closing duties at my full-time job this week. So, like, let's get one thing straight. Not everybody who does this work and makes money off of it is doing it as their full-time job. Like, myself, if you want to count school as a job, like, these are 3 jobs going on here. Like, I'm not just sitting around on my ass and playing video games and then going, hey, look at me play a video game. I save that for my Twitch channel when I'm in downtime. Let's get that straight.
Right, exactly.
But, and that I don't make money on at all.
Right.
Especially because I don't have the viewership over on Twitch to do that. But, you know, this took so much time. I feel like Fritz the Cat especially, and I'm going to throw that up on YouTube probably within the next couple of days, although right now it is up on Blip. Maybe I should link to it.
Probably.
I put a lot of time and a lot of effort, especially into, like, really carefully editing around so as not to offend different audiences, in particular Blip and YouTube themselves. And you know what? Somebody out there has uploaded all of Fritz the Cat to YouTube. I didn't do that! Like, somebody go after that guy. Don't be going after the people who do reviews.
I agree with the sentiment that Joe brought up, which is that part of why he's so angry is the fact that he put so much time and effort into crafting these videos so that they didn't look like some Joe Schmo in front of a camera. And that, in and of itself, speaks of how much dedication you're putting into this. If you're trying to make it look like a feasibly legitimate production, you know, you've got light setup, you've got a quality camera, you've got effects, you've got sound, you deserve to have that work rewarded.
Well, on top of that, I think some people are like, well, then just create your own content. I don't think everyone is cut out for, like, writing a script, like, fiction, and filming, like, a web TV show, a fictional web TV show. Like, some people just don't want to do that. Some people aren't meant to do that. Some people aren't good at doing that. Other people are really good at telling you why it is that a thing is or is not great or doesn't match up to the kind of tastes that you think that, or the kind of standards that perhaps a company or a studio should be living up to when they make X product, blah, blah, blah. Like, some people are really good at bringing issues forward. That there's different kinds of material to be produced. And, like, I almost want to say that I guess there's no room in this world for critiques, but I guess not unless everyone is to just sit against a blank wall in plain clothes and not get in trouble. Like, I'm almost concerned that now we're gonna get to a level where nobody can think differently, nobody can say things bad about a product.
Going 1984 on it,
basically.
Yeah,
kind of go 1984 on just flame bomb all of YouTube right then and there.
Well, see, speaking of flame bombing YouTube there, you know, YouTube has more than shot themselves in the foot doing this. You know, it was bad enough having to deal with Google+, it was bad enough having to deal with the comment section, now we've got this to deal with, and like it's been said, necessity is the mother of invention. What's to say somebody isn't already either thinking of jumping ship or working on some sort of YouTube killer site that will mimic YouTube but not have to put up with any of this.
Well, see, that's almost
any of these content problems.
That's similarly a topic I was about to get into as well. Not exactly the same thing, but similar in that where else can people go? Because YouTube is the place that everybody goes to upload anything and everything.
Like, are you going to force people to go back to VO? Dailymotion? Like, yeah, you cringe at that, but I don't know, after this week, they're starting to not look so bad.
Yeah, but it's like, if you're trying to get an audience, followers, subscribers, a real core viewership, like that, I just don't see happening on any other site overnight.
Well, not overnight, but look at it this way. The reason YouTube, and a lot of people have made this argument, and I agree, the reason YouTube got as big as it did was because YouTube, in the grand scheme of things, isn't even 10 years old. It was grassroots. You know, it was things like little funny videos, like Saturday Night Live deciding to put, Lazy Sunday on YouTube and seeing that blow up, and then people realized, we can get exposure here. That used to be the thing, that YouTube was the grassroots way of getting something out there. Now it is the business. Mm-hmm. And when it becomes a business, it can't retain that same grassroots feel. Meaning that, in my eyes at least, it would be very easy to find some other outlet to make that the grassroots way of bringing something to life. Like, just throwing something out there. If Vine extended how long you could make a video on there, imagine how quickly that would blow up.
Well, I don't think anybody would, because Vine exists and is popular like it is because it's a very ADHD sort of a...
Well, admittedly, yes.
I don't think Vine would ever extend more than 6 seconds. I think there is beauty in just 6 seconds. But I do think, like, there's plenty of other video outlets. After all of our producers for a very long time have used Blip. There was a time far in the past when we used Rever, and Rever was terrible and wouldn't pay us. And then, people went on to Springboard and other video services that generate revenue. It's just that the only problem is that the only reason why I make money off of Blip is because I am a producer at That Guy with the Glasses. Therefore, I get seen because that is a very large community of people. And even so, it's not as big of a community as you might have if you get featured somewhere on YouTube, or if you end up being part of a particular YouTube group, because YouTube is just the go-to place, because everyone's on YouTube, and it's easy to follow YouTube, it's easy to share YouTube, it's easy to tell somebody where to go, and YouTube has apps for your phone, and Blip is really bad at that, and just YouTube has made itself very social. Like, that's the problem. It's so easy, and it's so social, that how do you tear away from it and then create something better that won't screw you over and still have people watch you? Do you, like, have some new video production studio spring up, and then you make your video on YouTube and say, hey guys, come over here, and then hope that people follow you?
Well, the question I'm presenting is that now people are people going to start trying to answer that question because of what's going on this week?
Or will YouTube actually fix this nonsense?
Doubt it. No, well, not anytime soon, anyway.
Because you know what? I can deal with getting used to new YouTube layouts, like, oh, this is a chore. Or, new content system, this isn't very good, but I guess it still functions. Alright, I'm not happy, but,
Right.
But then this is deal-breaking. Like,
right.
This is more than just, my layout looks funny now. This is more than just, my comments look stupid, and then I have to click an extra button to make it go in time order of progression, comment, stupid. It's not like that. This is a bigger deal. And what are we gonna do? We're featured here on YouTube as well. Our podcast here, and like I put images up. There was actually
for the title screens, yeah.
There was actually one episode in the past where they flagged me for an image, and now we can no longer generate revenue on that one. It does not send money to that company. They were just like, oh well, you just can't make money off it anymore. I was like, oh fine. So, but at the time, that money, that advertisement money, it wasn't going.
Which episode was that?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look through. I don't remember if it was like an image of the Superman logo or something. It was something really obvious like that.
That's really stupid.
It was really dumb. Yeah, it was just a picture. It was just a picture of the S, as far as I remember. I think. I'll have to go back and look. I don't really remember. I'm sorry.
But
But if they were to, like, go back and be like, each one of our podcasts has some little image, and it's just an image, and it just sits there, and it doesn't do anything, and we're talking about that topic, and these are pictures that are promotional images.
Right.
Like, I'm not really making money off the image. I'm really not.
No, this is about the audio, us, our voices recorded.
Yeah. So, I don't even know. I don't know anymore.
It remains to be seen how much time it's going to take for this to be solved. I can only hope that no one else has to suffer from this YouTube apocalypse, because I like the videos these guys are putting out, and it would be a dang shame to see them stifled in their work further.
I like producing videos myself, and I can only hope that, we stay under the radar long enough to survive this and come out of this on the other side of the Underground Railroad. Now I'm just talking out my ass. Let's move on.
Yeah, you should stop. Okay, so moving on to our second story. Now, like I said, this is a little different from what we normally cover, but you just hear us out.
I'm a little confused, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm going to try and explain this to you again like I did when I found out about this last night.
Right.
Okay, so, the Disney Channel. Yeah. The Disney Channel is making a live-action telefilm, TV movie, about the offspring of animated Disney movie villains.
But they're not animated, they're live people.
Yes, they're live action.
Oh my god.
This press release just came out last night for this project called Disney Descendants, which, like I said, will follow the story of the offspring of certain villains in the Disney universe, and there's a description here which I'll go ahead and read. In a present-day idyllic kingdom, the benevolent teenage son of the king and queen, which would be Beast and Belle from Disney's Beauty and the Beast, is poised to take the throne. His first proclamation is to offer a chance at redemption to the troublemaking offspring of Cruella de Vil, Maleficent, the evil queen, and Jafar, who have been imprisoned on a forbidden island with all the other villains, sidekicks, evil stepmothers, and stepsisters. These villainous descendants, named Carlos, Mal, Evie, and Jay respectively, are allowed into the kingdom to attend prep school alongside the offspring of iconic Disney heroes including the Fairy Godmother, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and Mulan. However, the evil teens face a dilemma. Should they follow in their nefarious parents' footsteps and help all the villains regain power, or embrace their innate goodness and save the kingdom?
That is by far the dumbest description I have ever heard in my entire life.
Like, it sounds so fanfiction-y, I can't believe it's real.
I believe it's written by a fan. Like, that's what I believe. Where does it say that this is a television movie? Where?
Right there at the top. A live-action telefilm.
Okay. Well, I want to look at the names of these children again. And I'm assuming Carlos goes with Cruella, Mal goes with Maleficent, Evie goes with Evil Queen, and Jay goes with Jafar. I don't necessarily understand the name Carlos, except that it starts with a C, like Cruella.
No,
Mal is just lazy because it's like, oh, I couldn't think of a name better than my own name, Maleficent. So
well, it's the same thing with Evil and Evie.
That's what I'm saying. That's also lazy. And Jay, it just starts with a J, like Jafar.
Like, you could have tried, like, calling him Jamal or something, like... Really?
It still just would have started with a J. Also, like...
The number one question that you brought up, and I'm gonna bring it up right now.
Yeah,
the descendants of these villains.
Who are the other parents?
Who's
the other parent?
Who were desperate enough to bang those villains?
Who was desperate enough to bang Cruella de Vil? Maleficent could probably... She's kind of hot enough. Evil Queen, she's kind of hot enough.
Evil Queen... Now, are we talking about the Evil Queen from... which movie? Like, we're not talking about...
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Her name was just Evil Queen.
Okay, making sure, because for a second there I'm like, they're not talking about the Queen of Hearts, right?
No, that would be the Queen of Hearts.
Right, okay, making sure. But it's like, okay...
Well, did Jafar bang the Evil Queen, and did they both give birth to Evie and Jay? Or is Jafar the father of all of these children? Or, like who are the other parents?
I'm trying to rationalize this right here, like, okay... for the sake of argument, Cruella de Vil, I think, the Glenn Close Cruella de Vil, and Maleficent, now we have, Angelina Jolie to picture there. Okay, in those two instances, I can kind of understand why somebody would bang them. As far as Jafar and the Evil Queen go...
Wait, are you seriously saying you understand why someone would bang Cruella de Vil?
If it's Glenn Close Cruella de Vil, then
No!
yes.
Animated! You're an idiot!
No, but we're talking live action!
But it says these are specifically of animated characters. It says that!
But this is live action,
yes,
so they've got to be transplanted.
Live action, but they're based on animated characters.
Well, see here...
So no, it's not the Glenn Close Cruella de Vil. You are wrong! You are just plain incorrect!
No, it's not even incorrect. That's me trying to put myself in a position where it makes sense.
Yeah, but you can't force it to make sense when you know it's wrong. You're wrong.
Man, I'm getting a lot of that this week. But yeah, and on top of that, okay, let's get past the fact that these kids exist. All right?
I can't. I already hate the fact that kids exist of The Little Mermaid, that kids exist from The Lion King, that
Cinderella,
that kids exist from Cinderella, that kids exist from The Fox and the Hound, that kids exist from Lady and the Tramp. I'm already sick of hero kids, alright? Like, they shouldn't even exist. But for some stupid reason,
wow.
They do. And now you're gonna put them together. Good job! Good freaking job!
Well, because basically this reeks of sequelitis is basically what you're saying here.
Well, it's already sequelitis when you're making sequel movies, direct-to-video of these other really good Disney animated films. And then it's like the exact same movie, except backward with the kid. Like, Little Mermaid 2, it's like... You remember in The Little Mermaid? Ariel's like, I sure wish I was on land marrying a prince. And then she did. And then, in the second movie, she's got this little girl, and she's like, I sure wish I was a mermaid and the princess of the sea. And then she was. It's the exact same movie, but in reverse, with the kids. And it's terrible.
Well, the other thing on top of that, too, is that when you leave this phrase in there of... Are they going to help their evil parents out or embrace the innate goodness? If they have innate goodness, then they're not evil. Then you've already given away the crux of the movie. Oh, will they, won't they? No, we know they will. They'll give in to the good because this is Disney. They have to.
Well, I bet you one of them isn't so great.
What, you want to start taking bets on which one's the full-on evil one?
No... Because you're probably right. It's just
what do you mean probably right? You know I'm right as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. And, like, it's not a TV series, so there's not enough time for them to, like, build up and then have all sorts of little subplots, like...
See,
like,
no.
It's gonna be... Because all it's gonna be is High School Musical. And then their names... Then their names are going to relate... to already pre-existing Disney character names. That is the only difference. It's Disney characters, and we're like, and then one day, Ariel's little girl went to school with Cruella de Vil's child, and then they looked at each other.
Oh my god, this is Equestria Girls.
Then they looked at each other from across the room, and they didn't like each other. Oh, why doesn't she like me? I'm gonna have to say something to her in the locker room later. Then I saw the hot boy that I liked, and then we had a musical battle. Like,
Now, to be fair, to bring that up since you brought it up, this actually is being directed by the same guy who directed High School Musical.
That's what I'm saying!
but you see it though, right? This is Equestria Girls. You're taking the thing that already exists and then putting it in high school.
Okay, is it high school or what did it say?
They say prep school.
Okay, so high school.
Yeah, pretty much high school. Middle school, high school.
Stuck up high school. Very stuck up. Slightly less strict than Catholic school.
And I'm just still trying to wrap my brain around, isn't Jafar a genie, sort of, now? After Return of Jafar?
Yeah,
how did anybody...
He's definitely still a genie.
Oh, yeah, that I was trying to remember, because it's been so long since I saw Return of Jafar.
Maybe
somebody
found his lamp again, and then they rubbed the lamp, and then they were like, I wish to have your babies.
So we went Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky on this for Jafar.
I don't know. Like, somebody really thought that Jafar was hot stuff. I really don't know. Like, I liked him decently enough as a villain in the first Aladdin. That's it. Okay, so wait. Why do these characters all exist at the same time? In the same place? Is this the same kind of universe that, like, Kingdom Hearts is, where we got all these different universes that are connected to each other via gummy ship, and then...
No, I think this is actually closer to just House of Mouse, where, you know, the cartoon House of Mouse,
they just exist because shut up?
Yes.
Oh, my God. No.
Now, admittedly...
No, because otherwise, like, I can see Jafar being at any given moment in time, because he could have been in the lamp for God knows how long.
Right.
Alright? But, why? Cruella de Vil is 1960s. Okay?
Right.
Evil Queen is and so is Maleficent. So...
Well, medieval time period.
Do you understand?
It's basically House of Mouse time period because shut up. That's all it can be.
Okay, well, because then...
Now,
offspring of the fairy godmother? Is that what that says?
yes, they go to school with the offspring of the fairy godmother, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, and Mulan.
Who banged the fairy godmother?
Jafar? I don't know. Genie?
No!
Maybe Genie did it. You know, they're both magical creatures, and Genie was like, oh, look, what's going on here? And then, you know, they did a thing.
What?
I don't know.
Who?
Like, maybe part of it is that they're expecting people not to ask questions.
But here I am doing it.
Well, that's because we have this undying need for stuff to make sense.
I need to know who banged the fairy godmother. I have to have
All
this
right, to anybody listening to this, if you have theories as to who banged who, please hit us up on our individual Twitter accounts and you tell us which of these pairings actually makes sense. But as it stands, this is set to be put out in spring 2015.
No.
And I'm looking and I'm reading this. This is a quote from the president of the Disney Channel.
No.
We mined Disney's treasure trove of stories and developed a new comedic approach to the fabled characters everyone knows and loves. The result is a modern and unexpected reinterpretation of classic heritage characters utilizing contemporary, relatable settings and themes.
Then they're not these characters.
That just translates to me as, we jacked with this for money.
And they're gonna get money because they're Disney.
More giraffe money.
Oh, no.
But see, you brought up the High School Musical thing. It's being directed by the same guy. Some of the same people are working on it who worked on High School Musical. What if this thing takes off?
And then there'd be more
And then there'd
of
be,
them.
like, sequels. And then they'd make, like, kids of other villains. Like,
oh, no.
like Hades' kid.
Hades is a dead guy.
He could have a kid. He's a villain. We could have the Ursula's kid.
Ugh. That's disgusting.
We could have Scar's kid. Wait, Scar had a kid, right?
I don't think he, like, had a blood kid. Like, there was...
what's his face from Lion King 2?
He was just like, no, we're going to bring him up like Scar because, yes.
What's his Jason Marsden? But you see what I'm saying here. They specifically use the term mind, as in we're trying to pull out something that we're not seeing there, but we gotta dig as hard as we possibly can.
But it is just, it's my immortal for Disney, except not quite as serious, because I don't think these guys are gonna be goth. Well, the villains might be goth. The villains might be a little goth.
Mal might be goth, more than likely.
I bet Mal's a goth.
$5.
I bet she's got dark hair, long dark hair. It might go over her eye.
Probably. I'm thinking like Raven from Teen Titans.
Teen Tartans.
Teen Tartans. Teen Tartan. Okay. Basically, we just found out about this and we're already, no sir, I don't like it.
So we can stop talking
Yes,
about
we can
it,
stop
right?
talking about that. We can start talking about something a little more happy.
Yay!
In terms of destruction, the King of Monsters is back. You finally got it to work.
I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so happy.
I am happy. Ladies and gentlemen, Godzilla is back.
Woo!
Just this week we were treated to the first highly anticipated trailer for this new take on Godzilla. This movie, produced by Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers, they've been teasing footage at least for the last, couple of months since Comic-Con, right?
Right.
They had the Godzilla experience there. There was teased footage. Some of it leaked out. Pictures have been flying left and right. Well, now we finally got to look at, what this thing's going to be. And really, as it stands now, there's 2 trailers out. There's the domestic trailer, and then there is also the Japanese trailer, since, of course, you would kind of figure Toho themselves are helping to produce this film in conjunction with Warner Brothers and Legendary.
I think that's that's a very good thing to hear. I think that's very positive information to know.
Really, the difference between the 2 cuts, personally, and I think you agree with me on this, is that the Japanese trailer doesn't take as much time getting to the point.
They lingered far too long in the North American trailer on these dudes about to parachute out of this airplane.
To Halo jump out of this plane.
He had too much time.
Little too much time. But, to break it down, the movie trailer here starts off with a bunch of guys in this plane having to drop into this area, presumably that has been attacked by something. You can't tell right away from the outset.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, Halo dropping in, kind of like what you saw in Transformers 3, into this area that looks like hell, pretty much. Hell on Earth. And as they're dropping in the American footage, you can clearly see a large, for a lot of people, familiar figure trouncing through the city with seemingly no point of stopping.
I wish we had seen more footage of him and less footage of people. Also, I wish that I could say that I could tell that this is actual tokusatsu, actual special effects, like practical effects. So far, it does not appear to be practical in any way. It appears to be all CG, and that worries me just a little. I think it'll still keep classic motif, certainly far better than 1998's Godzilla did.
Oh, you mean Zilla.
But I still wish that there were some, miniatures, some actual physical explosions, some real dust.
Well, from what I understand, there will be physical explosions and real dust to be shown. From what I've read from an older interview, maybe a couple of months ago, Toho and Legendary wanted to make sure that the movement of this Godzilla felt like a guy in a suit.
Uh-huh.
So if they're making sure to keep that, then I'm happy.
Well, I would imagine the only way to do that would be to place a guy in a mocap suit and then capture that. So hopefully it does in fact move like a guy in a suit, because at one point it really was a guy in a suit, and then they just CG rendered on top of it. If it's like that, I guess it's okay. But I sure do wish there was actually a suit somewhere involved.
Now, as for the look of Godzilla, that more or less has been leaked for a couple of months now.
Yeah, which is why I'm upset that that's all they teased us with, was this kind of similar imagery off the posters.
Right. But thankfully, he's about 90-95% the same as the last time you saw him in, say, Godzilla Final Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Just a slight bit more updated, but it's fine. He looks as he should. He looks like Godzilla. And that gives me a lot of hope, because a lot of people, let's be frank here, a lot of people were disappointed with the giant iguana from '98 that ate tuna.
I'm trying to think of anyone I've ever heard of who was not disappointed. I'm sure those people exist, but sitting down and talking face to face with anybody, never met one. Never met one.
Because I remember, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll go ahead and mention it again. I remember summer of '98, I was so hyped for that movie. So hyped. Being in middle school and being like, hell yeah, Godzilla. And I go there on opening day to the theater, and you remember the marketing campaign. They were trying not to show what he looked like,
right.
And they had a very hard time showing what his actual scale was.
Right.
As to how big he was. You had these bus ads, like, this is how big Godzilla's foot is, and you had the Super Bowl ad of his tail knocking out the ball at the New Year's Eve drop.
And then he wanted to drink something or eat a burger or something.
I forget.
Burger King.
Right. And then you get to the movie, and it's about, 45 minutes, an hour into the movie, after they've set up that huge fish trap, and then you see him finally, and I remember looking at him and being, as a kid, going, that's it? Like, that's him?
Very, very disappointing.
Very disappointing. Like, he
Japan was like, no.
Well, yeah, let's be clear about that. Toho was pissed. So pissed, in fact, that, you can see it there in Final Wars. They officially denounced that movie as being anywhere close to canon. And then in Final Wars, as you can go ahead and look this up, the clip's on YouTube, they brought that creature from the 98 movie, the Columbia movie, put him in the movie under the name Zilla, citing officially that your movie took the god out of his name. And in that movie, he gets trounced in about, I think it's 43 seconds is how long that fight lasts between Zilla and Godzilla.
What year did that movie come out?
2004, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
10 years ago.
I remember tail end of high school when people talked about Final Wars coming out. And then they're like, yeah, and our Godzilla, he just dies, man. Like, he just eats it. Like, it was so amazing.
Like, he eats it.
Did you hear what the Japanese guy said about him? Oh, they took the god out of his name, and then they just don't want to have anything to do with, like, we were all like, whoa, they said that? Whoa, they must have been pissed.
Like, I remember watching that, you got Static X playing in the background while Zilla's getting his tail handed to him. And I remember being happy. Like, you show him Godzilla. And that was the thing, really. Final Wars was the last thing that they were going to do, and they said officially, Toho said, for 10 years, we're not going to touch him. We're not going to make any other movies. We're going to wait till the next anniversary, 10 years from now, and then we will start another Godzilla project, and this is that project. This movie.
So, but they have officially sanctioned it then.
Yes,
they
Toho
are saying, yep, this is that anniversary movie.
This is that anniversary movie, and hopefully this will lead...
If they're putting their official stamp of approval on it, like, how hard can we really complain? How scared can we really be of it? I don't necessarily like the teaser, but it's just a teaser. You know?
Now, in conjunction with this, Kotaku managed to pull together some quotes from Japanese people who saw the trailer and what exactly they thought about it.
And translated it all for those of us who aren't 100% fluent.
Some of these comments are actually very telling of the country they're from and what exactly they thought of the previous movie. And I'll just read a couple from here. Godzilla is huge. Godzilla without tokusatsu effects is not Godzilla.
See, that's what I'm fairly concerned about, actually.
There's actually a couple of quotes in here that are surprisingly anti-Ken Watanabe. Like, he's the token Japanese guy to go to.
Well, I'm sure that would be like pick any random American, like, oh, okay, let's take Matthew Broderick. Like, what if Matthew Broderick just randomly started showing up in Japanese films? Like, oh, well, they just have to get some white guy and they keep choosing Matthew Broderick. Oh, them's the breaks.
Yep.
Yeah, I would get sick of it, too.
And then another couple of these. This stinks of Cloverfield. Now, admittedly, for the directing style that they're going with, the director here, Gareth Edwards, previously directed a small independent movie, you may or may not have seen it, called Monsters. And I remember I took you and a couple of friends to go see it when it came out. Now, admittedly, Monsters isn't necessarily a bad movie per se, because it is about, aliens that, crash on Earth and, are terrorizing, south of the border. It was good up to a certain point. When it came to actually getting a monster, really, when you break it down, they didn't have a budget for it. But up until that point, he was telling a fairly decent story. Mm-hmm. And so now, apparently, Warner Brothers believed in what he did with Monsters well enough to be like, okay, you know what? You know the problem you had with your movie where you couldn't afford a monster? We're going to put you in charge of the biggest monster anybody could possibly be in charge of. Now you tell a story. And hopefully, that...
Well, they saw something they liked in him, so here's hoping.
And if Toho's signing off on it, then, that's a step in the right direction. And then, the cast in this movie don't really know too much about who they are or what they're playing necessarily. I mean, cast-wise, we know who they are. We've got a soldier in the movie played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, who most people know as Kick-Ass. Mm-hmm. We got Bryan Cranston, people know from Breaking Bad, as, if I'm not mistaken, his father-in-law. You've got Elizabeth Olsen, who will be playing Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife in the movie. Funny thing, they're both playing husband and wife in this movie, but then they'll be playing brother and sister come 2015 in the Avengers sequel. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of fun. It's funny looking through the cast list. Ken Watanabe is just some Japanese guy.
Yeah, see? Just some Japanese guy. Token Japanese guy.
Now, as to the actual plot of the movie itself, we can't really tell for certain. We're not sure where Godzilla necessarily came from, whether it's the classic, oh, he's a dinosaur that got hit by radiation and grew.
They did say that it had something to do with interaction from people in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yes.
So, I trust it. I trust it.
On top of that, the question had been brought up, is he going to be the only monster in this movie? And thankfully, based off the footage shown at San Diego Comic-Con, he will not be. There are several other smaller monsters in this movie, and from what I've learned just tonight, referred to as Muto, that they will that's just the blanket term covering them, that Godzilla will fight throughout the course of the movie, and some of them, rather their corpses, were seen in this footage shown at Comic-Con. And that makes me feel a little bit better, you know. If we're going to reintroduce Godzilla, give him some target practice, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, give him something to show, you know what, he's in charge, he is the boss around here.
Right.
And thankfully, if they're doing this with this quote-unquote first movie, that opens the door for what a lot of people are hoping for and expecting, which is more monsters. You know, your favorites, you know, Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah.
As it is, we're expecting some monsters to show up in this movie other than Godzilla. Some people are suggesting that Mothra and I think King Ghidorah, they said, were hinted at. I don't really know where they got that information
I don't know
from.
where they got that either.
But somebody was saying they saw some silhouette or something. I don't really know. I don't know. But we do know that there will be other monsters somewhere within this movie. I sure wish that something other than this one tiny fragment of Godzilla got teased in this teaser, but...
Really, what I would like to see, potentially, if they were to go that route, and I know it's a bit early to talk about it, but, you know, based off older movies, you know what works and what doesn't. Personally, what I would like to see is first movie, you know, as they're doing it, that's fine, take on some smaller monsters, no problem. Second movie, Mothra. Third movie, King Ghidorah, Godzilla has to team up with Mechagodzilla.
You would really want an American version of Mechagodzilla.
Hell yes, I would want an American version of Mechagodzilla.
Alright.
Mechagodzilla has always been a favorite of mine, next to King Ghidorah. You're gonna have fun with that now.
Probably.
Yes.
Squeaky gate roar. Now, I'm happy that roar kind of sounds like classic squeaky gate roar, but doesn't blatantly sound like a squeaky gate.
It's basically the same idea done with more modern technology to make it sound more like it came out of an animal.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm absolutely fine with that. It still sounds close enough to the original. That's like, okay, you guys updated, but you didn't screw with it too much.
Yeah,
Good job.
Better than, like, Godzilla USA is just like you tried to keep the original noise, but then you also tried to put another scream down on top of it, and like...
Well, and the other thing, the important thing to bring up, is something that they addressed in the Godzilla, and I'm talking about the 98 animated series, that they didn't address in the movie, or they tried to skirt around in the movie, and hopefully, from what I understand, they're not going to skirt around with it in this remake, is his atomic fire breath.
Uh-huh.
Like, he'll have it back.
Will he be able to backward rocket blast with it?
Time can only tell, and we can only pray that he does.
I doubt that he will. I highly doubt it, but...
Now, there's been a little bit of concern, though, that, and some of the comments there on Kotaku mention it, that some viewers, specifically in Japan, are afraid that they're going to cite the Fukushima reactor disaster as the result of Godzilla's creation.
I far preferred, like, the original creation details of, this happened because of war. And
yes.
Granted, you know, that was nuclear weapons as well. I mean, it was nuclear energy.
Yes.
But it's the fact that it came from war, something that was actually really bad that people did, that people created, not that people couldn't really have avoided.
Really, it was that idea that Godzilla was nature striking back against humanity for what they were doing to the planet via nuclear weaponry.
Yeah. As far as... I really hope they wouldn't go for...
I don't think they would.
I really think it's too big of a disaster for them to...
It would be too much in bad taste for them to do that.
It'd be very bad taste. I don't think they'll actually do that.
And when you think about it, though, I think most of the script had already been written before the disaster, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm...
That was a long time ago, then.
Well, no, they'd had a script running for a bit. They just needed, somebody to pick up with it. So basically, yes, next summer, my butt is in a seat for Godzilla. I will probably push for IMAX for this thing.
All right.
Godzilla.
How about D-Box?
Oh yes, D-Box. If you guys have heard us talk about it before, if you have the opportunity, go see Godzilla in D-Box. Mm-hmm. Let your seat shake with his mighty footsteps.
Let your butt shake.
Yes.
With his mighty footsteps. That's probably gonna be where we're gonna have to wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah. Summer 2014, Godzilla. Be there.
Woo!
Woo!
Well, we'll keep you in the loop with details that I'm sure you'll find out on your own, but then we'll just end up talking more about it. To close some things off, we want to remind you guys of a couple of events that we have coming up featuring ourselves. We both have a panel coming up at IkiCon here at the end of the month.
Yes, on Saturday, the 28th from 11:30 to 12:30. Panel room 2 is the Tokusatsu Heroes, Monsters, Explosions panel. So you guys can come out and catch us there in Austin.
And together, the following weekend over at MagFest, we're going to be hosting again the third year running the MagFest Nerf War. We do have more information again either at blackrimops.com or we'll go ahead and link to the event page.
And thankfully, we actually have some new content for that coming out very soon.
Very soon. I'm very excited about that. All that having been said, we'll keep you guys in the loop of both of those events, also on our Twitter accounts. You can follow us both. I'm at MarsGirlProd.
And I'm at Josh Knight First.
That having been said, I guess we're done.
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening. Make sure to send us your thoughts on who fathered what child in the Disneyland.
In the Disney universe. You know what? Just don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, we'll see you guys later.
This has been Beyond the Black Rims. See you next time.
Have a good night. 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 Have a good night.